Coming up, demolition at Innoventions West accelerates as the Epcot Overhaul gets underway, the reimagined Epcot Entrance construction gets nearer and nearer to completion, a mysterious new coffee location is sprouting up in Epcot, and the latest renovated Mark 6 monorail hits the highway in the sky at Walt Disney World. All that and more on the way. This is Mickey Views News.
All who come to this happy place, welcome.
Now I'm the king of the swingers.
That's what Epcot is, an experimental prototype community that will always be in a state of becoming.
Hello everyone, my name is Brayden and welcome to Mickey Views News. Today we've got lots to get to. The main story at this hour, Innoventions West, the former home of Club Cool and Starbucks, is now nothing more than an empty husk of its former self. I headed over to Epcot yesterday to take a look at all the latest work, and I could not contain myself when I saw that totally decimated facade of what has been a permanent fixture of the park since it opened in 1982. You know, we've been talking about this Epcot overhaul for years and years and years. There's been many different ideas as to what to do with these massive symmetrical buildings in the middle of Epcot. Disney announced the Innoventions West side will be removed entirely in favor of an open air concept with trees, festival food booths, I think we'd be safe to expect over there, as well as the new Moana Journey of Water walkthrough attraction heading over to the Seas Pavilion, as well as the famed new elevated structure coming to Epcot, the sort of new festival center area, which also has a garden area up top, which we'll probably see used for like paid event space during the different fireworks, a special firework viewing area. Lately, there's been a lot of debate as to if we'll actually get that structure, because despite the fact that they are currently clearing the land where that structure is going to go, and despite the fact that they have announced it, there's still no evidence that the project has a budget yet. That's what I've heard, and from others online, it does seem like other people have heard that as well. Personally, I think this future layout is good. I was never a fan of the Innoventions buildings. I think that they're not good for sightlines. I believe in an Epcot, which is a living, breathing World's Fair. And I have this dream of being able to stand in the middle of Future World and being able to turn my head and see all the pavilions on the horizon all the way around. I think that would be awesome. You look at the 64-65 New York World's Fair, you have the weenie in the middle, you have the thing in the middle, the visual thing that people move towards, and then around it you have all this open air and you have all the pavilions, and you can look all the way around and see all the pavilions around you. I really like that concept, and I really like it sort of coming to Epcot now that one of these buildings is being taken down. Half of the Innoventions is being taken down, so we'll get to see what that looks like. Some concept art was leaked online showing what was one of the options Disney was allegedly considering for the Epcot Overhaul not too long ago, which would have kept the symmetry of the park and the Innoventions buildings entirely. They would have kept them. Many Epcot fans really like this version of the Overhaul, but it looks like the budget cut version of the Overhaul to me. It looks like we're not going to do very much. We'll just leave things as is and try to make them look a little bit nicer. You know, I really like to see Disney taking it in a whole new direction with the plan Disney unveiled to us at D23. They're obviously putting more money into it, you know, demolishing stuff, building new buildings. Yeah, it's a lot of trees. That is definitely true. But I think that's all stuff that can be changed in the future, you know, stuff like that. So I'm not too worried about that. At the same time, though, taking a current look at all the construction walls, the destruction here, the loss of this classic Epcot structure, it's sad to see. It's something where it's not till it actually happened that it really registered with me like, wow, this is a piece of history and we're actually losing it, you know? So it's pretty crazy to see it all ripped up like that. If you actually look through Innoventions, you can already see the Imagination Pavilion. You can see the monorail passing by the Imagination Pavilion over there as it goes through. I thought I'd get a shot of that for you guys so you can see it goes right through there. Absolutely wild. That is gonna be a pretty cool view, I do have to say. So there is a little bit of a silver lining here. And I would like to note, I absolutely think one thing that should have stayed is the Fountain of Nations. That has been completely demolished because that fountain is beautiful, it's awesome, it's so elaborate, and they're actually bringing a new fountain to the new Epcot Overhaul, and now the fountain, it looks like it's the size of a hula hoop. It is tiny, it is microscopic, it's like, you know, like one of those pools that people put in their backyard that they buy at Walmart. It really pales in comparison to what was one of the most awesome fountains ever created in its time. A true like plumbing marvel, how they did all that with all the water and how it gets to where it is. It's pretty pretty incredible stuff. Speaking of Epcot Overhaul art, Disney added this new printout of the art to the construction wall around the current Innoventions and Fountain of Nations demolition site. And I think it's a cool touch so guests walking by can get an idea as to what this is all for. Remember back before you were a super fan when you'd go to Disney and you'd see lots of walls sometimes and you'd be like, I wonder what that's for, you know, what's sort of coming. For those sorts of guests, I think these little simple things like a printout of the concept art really does add a lot. In other news in Epcot, from the Monorail, taking a look at the latest progress on the entrance transformation, I was very excited to see progress is, dare I say, nearing completion at this point. On the first to be completed reimagined side of the Epcot entrance, the new planters have all been poured. The new pathway is like 70% done already. They're really getting it in very, very quickly. You might be like, Brayden, they need to do a lot of landscaping. Disney did all the landscaping for the new Epcot arrival area outside of the bag check. They did that in like a day, so that will not take much time at all to do inside the park. So no worries there. What we're waiting for now essentially is the fountain, which still needs all its tile. It needs its obelisks, which are returning, the iconic Epcot obelisks. I'm so excited to see those. And then the other thing of note is the front of the original center planter in the park. It looks like they cut out a space where the Leave a Legacy signage used to be. There's going to be a new entrance plaque there of some kind, given that it's still, you know, completely open there. It looks like they have a space set up for something that is going to go at the front of the main planter. Some people have been speculating perhaps Disney is trying to open this side up in time for the Christmas and New Year's rush, all those crowds, but I don't know if that's really realistic or possible given how close we are to people having time off. A lot of people working on these projects aren't even really working right now, right? Like this is like the end of the year, so how much can you really get done? This is sort of like the calm season as far as like Disney development is concerned. It's for park ops, it's like the crazy time, right? It's crunch time, but I'm not really so much on the creative end, I feel like. So we'll see what happens there. I think January 2020, we'd be safe to say this entrance is going to be ready. Again, we're just waiting for that fountain because everything else seems like it's going really well. We got the pathway, we got the planters, landscaping can be done very, very quickly. It's really all eyes on that fountain, which is going to be awesome when we actually get it. So keep an eye on that. I'm so excited for it. Outside the gates, Disney is also hard at work on the west side of the tram loop and creating the new arrival area for that side. As you can see here, it's funny, we have all these new areas outside the front gate and inside the front gates. You know, like we have the new entrance area that's almost ready. We have the new arrival areas, the new tram loop, all that cool stuff. But in between, all the stuff from going to parking to actually entering the park, all the new arrival stuff and the new entrance stuff in between, we have that little courtyard between security and the ticket area where we still have that super old Eisner era Epcot logo signage, which just looks so bad in comparison to all this fresh, angular, futuristic design we've got happening everywhere else around the Epcot entrance area. So here's to hoping we see that new logo come to the entrance signage soon, as well as the parking toll booth in the near future, which also looks like it needs some serious love in the not so distant future. And while on the topic of crowds, from the monorail you can see a new pathway Disney has paved, which we do believe will be a new bypass pathway for all guests starting in the new year, sometime in the early 2020s, where that entire side of Spaceship Earth, that entire area by the Art of Disney will all be walled off completely as they begin demolishing that section of Innoventions West entirely and start gutting it and taking everything out of it and then actually taking apart the building itself. And in the meantime, this side access way is how you'll enter the park on that west side, and it'll lead you over by the seas and the land. Lots happening in Epcot. Speaking of temporary construction in Epcot, since Starbucks likely won't be getting a new permanent home in Epcot till well into the overhaul, 2021, 2022 perhaps. They're probably going to do a standalone building in that treed area where Innoventions currently is. In the meantime, Disney is rapidly constructing this temporary Starbucks location over at the Rose Walk between the Imagination Pavilion and the World Showcase. And while not officially confirmed to be a new Starbucks location just yet, Disney has not announced this, given the very Starbucks store-esque facade and the materials used, you know, all the wood planks, which a lot of their stores use, and the fact that you have that covered circular signage, I think it's safe to guess that this is going to be the site of the new temporary Epcot Starbucks right next to the new restrooms, which are also coming together quite nicely over there at the Rose Walk. Last up in Epcot, I just wanted to give you the latest look here at the Future World East side of things as the Guardians coaster and the Play Pavilion come together here as the work continues. Interestingly, all the trees to the right of the Wonders of Life Pavilion have just been obliterated upgraded. Now it's like a full-on construction pathway for vehicles and backstage stuff. It's pretty wild to see it like that. And very interestingly, it seems like the Wonders of Life fountain, which still works, by the way, that's the fountain that the signage used to go on for the festival center back when it was the Wonders of Life. There's a little fountain sign thing there. It's still there, as is the pathway to the Wonders of Life, the original pathway, which has somehow survived the cut thus far. Although looking at the Epcot Overhaul art, I do think that we will see that whole front area to the Play Pavilion ripped up and reimagined completely. I really like that pathway layout. I wish they'd keep that, but I don't think it's very good crowd flow wise. So they're going to sort of open it up, make it more angular so people can get in and out much quicker. Let me know what you guys think about everything happening with the Epcot Overhaul right now. Farewell Innoventions. Last up in the news today, while I was bouncing back and forth on the Epcot monorail, getting all these overhead shots of the construction for you guys, I spotted the newly refurbished Monorail Black, which returned to service after months of updates this week. Where not only did it get the super nice interior refresh we've also seen done to Monorail Silver and Green with the new seats and the new trim, but also this one is unique in that the Monorail Black stripe is not just one solid color. It's always had a red outline around the black, which you can see on the overhead trim inside the monorail cabin, which is the sort of attention to detail and continuity that I think makes any fan excited at any level. Like little kids who like tracking all the monorail colors, the fact that they can go inside and verify which monorail they're on just by looking at the trim above them, that's so cool. Like that's something that's awesome and so great to see. I can't describe how much those little details help adding a little bit of magic to people's vacation like that, because before you'd get on a monorail, like you'd get on Monorail Green, and inside the stripe was coral on the ceiling on every monorail, which didn't really make sense. So now the fact that the stripe on the inside actually corresponds with the stripe on the outside is some really awesome Disney level attention to detail. And speaking of the stripe on the outside, now to better accentuate this monorail and the fact that it has that red accent color to it, they've added deltas along the black stripe that have been added across it, giving it almost like a first order sort of aesthetic with the color scheme where you have the white monorail with the red accent color and the black there. I have to say it does look very awesome. Of course, it's no substitute for new monorails. We really need new monorails in Walt Disney World. These ones are 10 years past the replacement date now, but nevertheless, it's so great to see in the short term these monorails getting some love. I haven't been able to reach out to any of my Disney transportation sources yet to get an idea as to which monorail is getting refurbished next. And the next one to get some love, I'm guessing it might be Monorail Gold. I think that one's coming up soon. That monorail's been having lots of breakdowns recently, and having been in it a few times the last few weeks, I would say that's the one that needs to be refurbished next. I think that one needs the love the most. Let me know what you guys think about which monorail you think will be getting updated next. Be sure to subscribe those notifications on so you don't miss any of the latest Disney news. I'll talk to you soon from the Mickey Mouse Magic Studio, now located in Orlando, Florida. This is Brayden. Have a magical day.